Today is August 2nd, 2024. My name is Jo Reingold, and I'm here interviewing Karen Kurzman. Hi, Karen. Thank you for doing this.
Welcome.
So, Karen, tell us a little bit about what you know of your family, your grandparents, your parents, where they lived, what they did for a living, etc.
My maternal grandparents came to Detroit from Russia. My grandfather was from David Horoduk, and there's a huge community in Detroit of the Horodukers. I know a lot about him. He told us a lot about his life, what it was like in Russia, how he came. So I know a lot about that family. My paternal grandparents came from Romania, but their ancestors were originally from Russia. And they also wound up in Detroit. Both grandfathers got to Detroit because they had uncles there. And they changed their names when they came to their uncles' names. So my father's father was born Kitlar, K-I-T-L-A-R, and he changed his name to Bergovitz. My mother's father was Begin, B-E-G-I-N, and he changed his name to Fishman. And I recently found out that a cousin escaped the Tsar's army and was afraid he would be found. So when he left Russia, he changed his name, and that's how the Fishman came about, is what I'm told. So our families were in Detroit. It was a very large Jewish community. My mother, because of her parents, was very involved in the Jewish community. My father, through work, had a larger connection to the outside world. My brother and I were raised in a conservative congregation. When it was time for us to be consecrated and bar mitzvahed, my father learned Hebrew so that he could go to services with us every Saturday and follow along. And yes.
How did your parents meet? Do you know?
My parents met through my father. I believe it was my father's twin brother introduced them at an engagement party or a wedding.
So you said they all ended up in Detroit, and they had relatives there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, because some people tell me that they had considered other places, but ended up in such and such. So did they consider anywhere else, or it was straight to Detroit and that was it?
My grandfathers never considered anywhere else because their relatives were in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
How the relatives got to Detroit, I don't know. I know my grandmother brought her parents to Detroit also. So I knew my great-grandmother. She lived until I was actually engaged. And my father's grandparents also came to Detroit, lived with them, but the great-grandfather found that it wasn't religious enough for him. He left his wife in Detroit, and he went back to Romania.
Oh.
And I have a picture of his gravestone in Romania that a cousin sent to me.
Wow, that's amazing. But everybody else, so do you still have family in that area?
Yes.
They're still there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so take us through your life as a young child. What was it like growing up in Detroit? What kind of things did you get involved in?
It was a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up, and it was a wonderful time to grow up because things were considered safe. We had a lot of freedom, could get on our bikes and go for miles, and nobody ever worried about us. It was a very safe, free, fun environment. I had Jewish friends through Hebrew school and Sunday school, but most of my friends, I think, in elementary school were non-Jews. So I grew up having a mix of both, which is nice.
Was your family involved in anything in the Jewish community or the secular community at that time?
My mother was very involved through Congregation Sharat Tzedek. She was very involved in sisterhood. She transcribed books into Braille through them. She was very involved.
And you said you went to Hebrew school and Sunday school.
I did.
Did you stay all the way through?
I did.
Yeah. Good. Very good. What was your favorite thing about growing up Jewish? Did you have a favorite holiday or a favorite experience?
Probably Passover. Right. When my mother's parents were alive, when my grandmother was alive, she always had she kept everybody together and she kept everybody connected. So we had holidays with her, and I knew that extended family. When my grandmother passed away, that all kind of fell apart. You know, there's usually only one person who keeps it together. She was that person.
And no one took the reins?
And no one took the
No.
reins. So everybody from my end of it kind of lost touch with all the extended family.
So what things were you involved in high school, and then what did you do after high school?
I did not like school. I was in 2 Jewish clubs through the JCC. And I don't remember a whole lot. I kind of wiped those years away.
So
I
what?
went to school for 1 year and very happily dropped out of school to get married.
Ah, okay. So you met your husband where?
Met my husband when I was 14. Our grandparents knew each other and our parents knew each other. And when I was 14, I went to his house for his brother's confirmation open house, and his father greeted me with, "I don't know which, but someday you'll be my daughter-in-law." And that happened. So years later, he and my grandmother set us up at my cousin's bar mitzvah so that we would sit next to one another. And we were engaged 5 weeks later and married 5 months after that. And that was 60 years ago.
Wow. And what was your husband doing at the time?
He was working with his father, selling kitchen cabinets and installing them. And things got tough in Detroit, and we ended up moving to Dallas for a job.
Both of you had, or he had a job lined up?
He had a job lined
Where
up.
did he work when he got here?
He
What did he
worked
do?
for a company called Reingold, which had started in Great Neck, somewhere in New York. But they were here.
So a similar question I asked you before was, did he have other choices, or was Dallas top of the list at that point?
Dallas is where he was offered a job.
And so no hesitation to move here from the north. No, you're okay.
We really, the business was having a hard time supporting us, so we left.
And you've been here how many years? When was
We
that?
moved in 1976. Mickey moved here the end of 75. I moved the beginning of 76.
So basically you've been here
A long
a
time.
lot of your adult life,
long
right?
time.
And did you have children? And did
Yes.
they grow up here? Or they-
Yes, our children were 11, 9, and 8.5. Something like that when we moved here.
And where are they now? Are they still around?
No, our daughter's in Denver. Our older son is in Oregon, and our youngest son is in southeast Dallas.
So one of them stayed here, okay.
One of them stayed here.
All right, very good. Any grandchildren?
Yes, we have 5 grandchildren. We have 3 grandsons, again scattered, and we have a grandson and a granddaughter in Oregon, and we have a great-granddaughter in Oregon.
Oh boy. You do a lot of traveling, I imagine, to see everybody?
We used to.
You
We don't
used to do?
anymore.
Yeah. So what kind of things have you been involved in since you've been in Dallas?
When I was in Detroit, I was very, very active in NCJW. No. Scratch that.
Okay.
I forgot the name of it. I forget a lot of things now that I'm older.
So-
But I was involved in NCJW when I was in Dallas.
Okay.
I was a docent at the Meyerson when it was built, which was a fabulous experience. So I was very happy with that. I was pretty active in Temple Shalom.
Okay.
I did a lot there. Wound up doing a split shift with the secretary for a few years. I did a lot of cooking here. The wife of Mickey's boss got me taking cooking lessons when we moved here with her, and we used to do a lot of cooking, and I loved that. For a long time, I loved that.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
What have you done as a couple?
That's tricky because Mickey was very, very much a golfer. Right. He gave it up for a little while the kids were growing up, and we played tennis together. But that didn't last very long. When I started working, I had an office supply store with another woman.
Okay.
So I didn't have time for that. But I'm trying to think of what we did mostly we were with the kids, going to all of their sporting events. Mickey was doing some traveling in the early years, so he would come home on the weekends and he'd want to be with the kids and with me. We didn't have a huge social life. Neither one of us are comfortable in big groups. We're much better one-on-one. So we had a small group. We did some traveling, but a lot of it was through his business.
Okay. So how did you start with an office supply company? How did that happen?
The wife of one of the men who moved to Dallas to work at the same company Mickey did said, "Do you want to go into business and do something?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So we looked at Hallmark stores and realized that they were too expensive. And we happened upon this little office supply store at Carillon Towers that had been run by a woman, and the price was right, and we thought that would be good. And it was wonderful. For a few years it was wonderful. And our husband said, "You're doing really well. Why don't you open up a second one?" And then it wasn't so much fun anymore. And then the big box stores came to town, and we could buy copy paper at Sam's cheaper than we could from our wholesalers, and could see the writing on the wall. So we put it up for sale, and a couple bought it, and the man said, "I don't like the way you women run your business. You don't know how to run a business." So he thought he knew better, and in 1 year they were out of business.
Oh, wow. How long has your husband been retired, and what has he been doing besides golfing to fill his time?
That's a challenge, keeping him busy. He'll have to tell you that.
Okay.
He was retired. I don't remember how long ago. Maybe 15 years ago. We did a lot of car traveling. He loved driving, and we took a lot of car trips. We learned that our max away from home was 1 month, and then we were itching to get back home. But we got to see a lot of the country and loved the United States. Found that there was a lot of beauty and more interest than in some of the places we had been. That was probably a highlight of our life, was those years.
Traveling is always, I think, interesting and fun, right? Can you think of anybody that you would consider a role model in your life? Or that you looked up to, or whatever?
Growing up, I had an aunt that I looked up to. She was the wife of my mother's brother. Her name was Rita. And she always talked to me like an adult, never talked down to me, and I loved her. She was probably the one I looked up to the most.
Okay. Now, you've been in Dallas a long time. So I'm going to ask you, two things. How have you seen the city change since you've been here? And how do you think the Jewish community has changed since you moved here?
When we moved here, the Jewish community was about 20,000 people. I don't know what it is now. Well, a lot bigger. Grocery shopping was a challenge. I had never seen meat in a grocery store that was graded. It was a challenge. We were here for maybe a year when J.C. Penney's moved here, and then things really changed. We saw the Dallas community not being very amenable to people moving in.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
They didn't want all the Jews. They didn't want all the people bringing their traffic. But it brought growth. It brought better shopping. The Dallas Jewish community grew. It was a big difference. I think when we first moved here, most of my friends, I think, were non-Jewish. Most of my Jewish friends were either the few in my neighborhood or through Temple.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved here, my children were each the only Jews in their classrooms, kindergarten, 3rd grade, 5th grade. Within a week at school, each of them individually came home saying, such and so told me I'm going to hell because I don't go to church. I don't know if that goes on anymore, but all of my children say they were subjected to anti-Semitism.
What neighborhood did you live in? Or where were you?
The kids went to Bowie School, so we were off of
Beltline.
Campbell and
Campbell. Mm-hmm.
Meandering Way.
Mm-hmm.
And there were cow pastures around us.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Are you still members of Temple Shalom?
No,
No.
we're not affiliated anywhere anymore since we moved here. Our rabbi is a Chabad rabbi, Asher Goldschmidt, who we love, but we're not affiliated anywhere.
And what made you decide to move here to the Legacy Willow Bend?
My parents moved to Florida. My brother was in Detroit, not able to travel because of his work. And when Mickey stopped working, it was the two of us who were going back and forth to Florida to help my parents. The first few years it was lovely because we were able to spend a lot of time. Mickey could play a lot of golf. But then as my parents started aging, it became more of a challenge. And I found that I was going back and forth a lot. My brother would fill in once or twice a year when he could. Our daughter filled in. Once she had babies, she was going a lot with her babies. But the burden was really mine most of the time. And I said, I won't do this to my children. So we started looking when the Federation opened their little office to come see what this place was going to be. And it looked nice, it sounded nice. The buy-in was very foreign to us. We left and I said, someday I would like to live there. And then as we traveled around visiting our children, going on vacations, we would look at other senior communities. And then we found that that buy-in was what they were all doing. So we became more familiar with it. After my parents both died, I had Mickey come here, and he really liked it. He said, I'm not ready for it. But the apartment that we wanted was not available, and we were told it probably wouldn't be for at least 5 years. So we put our name on the waiting list, and 2 years later we got a call that it was available. And Mickey said, well, we're getting old, we might as well. So we came here, and it was the best thing we ever did.
I was just going to ask you any regrets, but I think
Never,
you're happy
never,
here.
Never.
Right.
Mickey was surprised that he didn't miss his house. I used to tell people that I was very happy here, and he would say he was not unhappy. But he does say it's the best thing we ever did. This is a wonderful place to be.
That's good. Good to
Yeah.
know. If you could pick something that you're really, really proud of in your lifetime, what would that be?
That's hard. I don't pat myself on the back
Well, that's
very
okay,
often,
just-
so I don't really think about those kinds of things. I
Or
guess-
anything you're glad that you worked on or did?
You know what? I was very happy during my cooking years and that community that I had. I was very happy with the work I did at Temple. I was very, very happy with the things that I did through NCJW. I loved being a docent. That was a very exciting time. I was one of the volunteers who did the hearing screenings on the babies at Parkland. And that was wonderful, and I did that for, I don't know, 18 years, a long time, a long time, and that was wonderful. I think I'm proud that I was able to run a business with another woman at a time when women weren't really supposed to do those things. I remember when we sold our business, we each got enough money to buy a car, and we went to the car dealership, and the salesman didn't want to wait on us because we were women. You know, don't you have husbands? Women aren't supposed to buy cars. And my partner said, don't you have a woman salesperson? And we said, no. He said, well, we've got money. If you don't want our business, we'll go elsewhere.
Perfect answer.
That was the time.
Yes.
So the fact that we could run a business and really have fun doing it and be semi-successful was, I think, a big accomplishment at the time.
I think so too. And I'm very happy that you did this. Anything else you'd like to add?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Well, we're happy you came here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.